talk to you a little bit about what could possibly be in our future, and I don't think there's really much speculation on this, but I want you to know the attacks are going to come fast and furious from the left. Some of them will be deserved if you take this and you go down a tinfoil hat road. I mean, you don't need to go to the Bilderbergers. I mean, it's as useful as going to the Whataburgers. You don't have to do that. But like every time, we will use their words to prove a point. But progressives will go nuts when they hear the term global governance. If they hear it used, they'll tell you you're crazy. Here's an example from a left-wing blog. Seriously, for a moment, they write, we're going to have to address the paranoia about global takeover at some point, probably in easy-to-comprehend Dick and Jane language for the Tea Party. Well, that's good. But apparently this blogger, while sitting in his underpants in his parents' basement, failed to notice that Gustav Speth, he is the former head of the World's Resource Institute, an institute that Al Gore is part of, said back in 1997 this: global governance is here to stay, and driven by economic and environmental globalization, global governance will inevitably expand. Oh, well, if that's all it is. A UN development report in 1999, UN wrote, this is important, governance is not government. It is the framework of rules, institutions, and practices that set limits on behavior of individuals, organizations, and companies. Oh, well, if it's only setting limits on you, but it's not a government, oh, I'm fine with it. That's all this is framework. Framework. It's not government. It's important for them to say those things. All of these financial regulations that are being put into place, it's bogus, and it leads to this. The bailouts, bogus, it leads to this. Climate change leads to this. It is a framework for global governance. Europe says they want it. We'll show you what they said in a minute. The IMF is implementing it in Europe. They're telling now sovereign nations what to do right now. But we're not moving towards it here in the U.S., are we? Well, let me show you what the UN said about land use. Private land ownership is also a principal instrument of accumulation and concentration of wealth, therefore contributes to social injustice. If unchecked, it may become a major obstacle in the planning and implementation of development schemes. Wow. Hey, on a completely unrelated note, have you noticed what our government has been doing? Fannie and Freddie already back 96% of U.S. residential mortgages. They will own or guarantee $5.5 trillion in mortgage debt. That is half of the current market. Plus, the federal government already owns 30% of land in America. They have plans now to seize another 10 million acres just this year from Montana to New Mexico. Land can be a problem, you know. And by the way, they're only doing this. They're only doing this for new monuments they want to build. That doesn't seem reasonable, does it? I'm not going to tell you more about it. I'm going to let them tell you in easy-to-comprehend Dick and Jane language next. Now, tonight we're kind of introducing something that we'll spend some time on history with in the coming days and weeks. But I've been telling you tonight about the push for global governance. But I don't want to tell you it myself. I'm going to let you see it for your own, with your own eyes and your own ears, in their own words. We've played the president's speech at West Point from this weekend, but I want you to listen again with new ears, being pushed into a global world order. Listen to this.
The international order we seek is one that can resolve the challenges of our times.
Okay, an international order. This isn't new. This is not Obama. This is not the Democrats. They've been talking about this for a long time. The framework has been there. Now, what is the international order? For what? Show me the international order that has ever worked or that people want to get into. It wasn't the League of Nations. It's not the UN. But Obama is committed enough to this order that he's now trying to sell it to the cadets at West Point, whom, by the way, were not too receptive to it. But watch this commercial. They've apparently already sold it to the U.S. Navy.
America's Navy, a global force for good.
I'm sorry. sorry, a global force for good? I know it's an American force with global reach, but that's not what they're trying to sell here. That's not what they're saying. I mean, they've already changed G.I. Joe in the movies. Now this is a commercial for the U.S. Navy, a global force for good. The president has been speaking this way since he was a candidate. In fact, if you remember, when he campaigned, strangely, for the first time ever, in Europe, he said this in Berlin.
I speak to you not as a candidate for president, but as a citizen. A proud citizen of the United States and a fellow citizen of the world.
Why was he over there? I mean, I'm sorry, I left my Citizen of the World ID in my other pants. I hope they don't deport me now from the planet. There is no such thing as citizen of the world. We're Americans. We're humans, we're on planet Earth, but we're Americans. But for Obama, it's time we all just come together.
Now is the time to join together through constant cooperation and strong institutions and shared sacrifice and a global commitment to progress to meet the challenges of the 21st century.
I mean, you might be thinking, so what? The President of the United States has talked about a new international order, being citizens of the world, joining together through strong institutions and a global commitment to progress. But still, there's no epidemic of globalism. Well, here is the most frequent visitor of the White House, the advisor Andy Stern. Listen.
We created global trade, we created global finance, we created global companies, but we forgot to create a global government, or a global organization, or global regulators.
But don't worry, he's working hard to fix that. He said this, and today I send this message to every emerging global corporation. Justice, keyword, family, community, and union are the same in every language, and wherever you go and whatever you do, a new global labor movement is coming to find you. Intimidation on a global scale. Al Gore sounded off, the really neat things we can accomplish with global governance as well. Al Gore.
But it is the awareness itself that will drive the change. And one of the ways it will drive the change is through global governance and global agreements.
Okay. We had Bill Clinton talking at Yale, mentioning, the whole global community again. Hillary Clinton has just talked about global citizens in her plea for global education.
As students, as workers, or as global citizens.
Okay. Global education. Since when are there citizens of the world or workers of the world? Oh, except for the communist slogans. These are all in their own words. It's out there in the open. There's no conspiracy. None. And it's not just Americans, and it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans as well. It's a lot of people. I don't think you, but it's a lot of people that want to take us down this track, and they're going to push us into it. I want to show you what's happening in Europe and what they're saying over in Europe, because it's the same kind of stuff, except maybe even in plainer English. Back in a minute.